Hello there, and welcome to Dream Myths. Tonight, we embark on a journey aboard the Scottish Express train, a vessel designed for restful transit. Before we depart, I invite you to settle in and find your perfect equilibrium. Take a moment to allow the world to recede, finding a position that feels entirely yours. Feel the supportive embrace of the earth beneath you. Now, draw a deep, slow breath in through your nose. As you exhale, imagine the day's concerns and activities beginning to dissolve. Let them dissipate, like the fleeting images of stations passing in the night. Through the measured rhythm of your breathing, allow your physical form to become heavy and profoundly still. A wave of tranquility is now beginning its ascent, starting from your toes. Visualize this calmness, this train of calmness, moving slowly upwards, mirroring a gentle journey northward. Feel it permeate your feet, your calves, your thighs, your hips, and your back. Each part of you is settling into a state of complete repose. Allow this peaceful sensation to flow effortlessly into your chest, down your arms, up into your neck, and finally into your head. The train's gentle rumble is not merely a sound. It is an invitation. It is a promise of escape from the static demands of the waking world. A subtle hum of quiet anticipation begins to resonate beneath the surface of this peaceful scene, signaling the start of a profound inward voyage. During our time together, there is no requirement to concentrate too deeply. Instead, simply allow the narrative and the sound of my voice to carry you along. As your breathing settles into a steady rhythm, much like the wheels upon the track's end, your mind achieves a quietness akin to a sleeping railway station. Prepare to board the Scottish night train. You are now settled into your window seat, the Edinburgh station's usual bustle already fading into the background. The late afternoon light is casting long shadows across the platform as the train begins to pull away with a gentle lurch. Your overnight passage to the far northern reaches of Scotland is just commencing. Already, the insistent demands of the city are beginning to slip away, much like the receding skyline outside your window. The train proceeds with a steady, hypnotic rhythm. The wheels click against the rail joints, a rhythmic pattern that seems to whisper, "Rest, rest, rest." Gentle rain begins to knock softly on the windows. The rhythmic sway of the carriage evokes the sensation of a cradle rocking. Your compartment is tidy and profoundly comfortable, featuring wood-paneled walls and seats upholstered in a subtle tartan pattern. Small reading lamps cast a warm, comforting glow as the daylight begins its slow retreat. You have already stowed your bag on the rack above and placed your ticket securely in the holder by the door. This simple ritual marks a definitive transition from a hurried traveler with obligations to a passenger for whom nothing is required but to observe Scotland unfold outside the window. The air within the compartment is thick with the scent of aged leather and damp wood, a fragrance that evokes countless journeys taken long ago. As the ambient light diminishes, the reflections in the window glass begin to subtly distort, hinting at forms and shapes concealed within the deepening shadows of the passing landscape. As the train gains speed, the dense urban structures of the city begin to recede, yielding to the open expanse of the countryside. Through the carriage window, glimpses appear. Rustic stone cottages with threads of smoke rising lazily from their chimneys, fields meticulously bordered by ancient stone walls, and streams flashing silver in the rapidly fading light. The clickety-clack of the wheels establishes itself as a constant companion, a precise metronome measuring every second of the train's peaceful forward motion. A profound silence begins to settle within the carriage, serving to amplify the exterior sounds. This stillness makes the familiar rhythm of the wheels feel strangely urgent, almost insistent, a palpable sense of something ancient and untamed begins to permeate the compartment, a wild essence seeping in from the world just beyond the glass. This is the Highland spirit, asserting itself, quiet yet undeniable. At the first scheduled stop, an elderly gentleman boards the train and enters your compartment. His name, you soon learn, is Duncan. He possesses silver hair and cheeks weathered by years of exposure to the elements. He settles comfortably into the seat opposite you, placing a walking stick its handle intricately carved from wood against the adjacent seat. He offers a quiet, respectful greeting. Duncan confirms your direction of travel, observing that you are indeed heading north, and remarks that this is a beautiful journey ahead. He adds that it is a passage he has undertaken countless times over many years. His eyes hold a depth that suggests ancient knowledge, as if he perceives not merely the railway tracks, but the layered history buried beneath them. The air immediately surrounding Duncan is remarkably still, a profound contrast to the continuous motion of the train. He is a quiet harbor in the midst of your journey, a serene presence that invites contemplation. The train pulls away from the station, rocking gently and quickly regaining its previous momentum. The landscape outside undergoes a transformation, the familiar agricultural fields giving way to more dramatic, rugged terrain. The afternoon light softens into what is often referred to as the magic hour, casting a golden hue over the scenery, even as the persistent rain continues to patter against the windows. Duncan formally introduces himself, explaining that this railway line cuts through Scotland's most storied lands. He emphasizes that every hill and every loch encountered holds narratives and histories stretching back hundreds, even thousands of years. The gentle, consistent rhythm of the train provides an ideal environment for conversation. Duncan's demeanor is entirely trustworthy, and with each passing mile, the residual stress from the city seems to dissolve completely. As Duncan speaks, the train's rhythm seems to subtly adjust, drawing you further into his world. The clicking of the wheels mirrors the cadence of a captivating drumbeat, compelling you to listen closely. A faint, icy chill brushes against the window pane, a momentary contrast to the compartment's warmth, hinting at the profound, untold secrets concealed within the Highlands. Duncan points toward a perfectly rounded knoll in the distance, identifying it as a fairy hill, or in Gaelic, a sithbin. He explains that local folklore maintained these hills were hollow, serving as dwelling places for the Sith, or fairy folk. He recounts that farmers, even as recently as 2 decades ago, would meticulously plow around these hills rather than across them, a testament to the enduring respect for ancient beliefs. As you watch the knoll glide past the window, you imagine generations of plows deliberately skirting its slopes. The late afternoon sunlight catches the raindrops on the glass, scattering them into transient rainbows across the compartment. Duncan observes the meteorological volatility of the region, quoting a famous local saying, "If you don't like the Scottish weather, wait 20 minutes. As the Sith bin disappears from view, a brief, sharp gust of wind rattles the carriage, a sound that seems to carry a whispered laugh from the distant knoll. The rainbow colors, momentarily suspended in the air, create a fleeting, ethereal beauty before quickly dissolving into the gathering dusk. As the last vestiges of light fade entirely, a train attendant moves through the carriage, switching on lamps and offering tea service. Duncan accepts a cup. As he does so, you notice a thin, worn gold band on his left hand. He shares that he dedicated 43 years of his life to the railway, beginning his career as a porter and eventually retiring as a station manager in Inverness. Duncan explains with a quiet intensity that this line is in my blood, adding that his late wife often remarked he loved the rails almost as much as he loved her. The rich aroma of the tea is profoundly grounding, serving as a warm counterpoint to the wild tales of the Highlands. It brings you back into the comfortable, cozy reality of the train compartment. Duncan's smile is gentle, but his eyes reflect a deeper sorrow, the quiet burden of a life dedicated to the relentless, unending rhythm of the tracks. The train begins to slow its pace as it approaches a magnificent stone viaduct that spans a deep valley. Rain streams across the windows as you look down upon the dramatic arches suspended high above a rushing river below. Duncan notes that this viaduct was constructed in 1897 by men who endured the harsh realities of Highland winters and the relentless onslaught of summer midges. He reveals that it acquired the haunting moniker, the Bridge of Sighs, not due to any romantic notions, but rather for the desolate sound the wind makes as it whistles between the arches on a stormy night. A sudden, fierce gust of wind picks up, sending sheets of rain hammering against the glass, yet the compartment remains a haven of warmth and coziness, a stark contrast to the wild, elemental weather outside. The train shudders slightly as it begins its crossing of the massive structure. The sound of the wind transforms into a low, mournful howl echoing between the arches. For a fleeting moment, you experience a dizzying sensation of weightlessness as the train hangs suspended over the valley, a profound feeling of being momentarily caught between worlds. The train's dining car is now open for the evening meal. You make your way down the corridor, which rocks gently beneath your feet, feeling much like the deck of a stable ship traversing a calm sea. Each carriage seems to possess its own distinct character, its own subtle narrative. The dining car itself is bathed in a soft, inviting glow. The ambient lighting reflects warmly off the crisp white tablecloths and the rich, polished wood panels. Outside, the landscape continues its relentless transformation. The hills you observed earlier are now growing into imposing mountains, looming as vast, dark shapes silhouetted against the deepening twilight sky. The atmosphere within the dining car is a sanctuary. The quiet clatter of silverware and the low hum of conversation serve as a comforting buffer against the encroaching darkness. The mountains outside draw closer, their jagged peaks appearing almost menacing in their ancient silence, defined only by the last vestiges of twilight. You share a simple yet intensely hearty meal of traditional Scottish fare. Cockaliki soup, followed by venison served with neeps and tatties, turnips and potatoes. Duncan points out distant landmarks visible from the window, including the edge of Loch Lomond. He highlights its deep, mysterious waters and the historical significance of the clans who used to test the mettle of their young men by requiring them to swim across it. The warmth of the soup is comforting as the train continues its gentle, persistent rocking onward. Twilight dissolves completely, transitioning into the full embrace of the night. Duncan shifts his narrative focus to the Trossachs, referring to it as Rob Roy McGregor country. He recounts how this region provided shelter to the Highland rogue, explaining that Rob Roy knew every cave and hollow between Loch Lomond and Loch Catherine. The train's rhythmic motion underscores his words, creating a deeply mesmerizing experience of hearing these historical tales while moving through the very landscape where they unfolded. As Duncan speaks of Rob Roy, the train seems to pick up speed, the wheels drumming a nervous beat that mimics the rhythm of a midnight escape. You feel an inexplicable urge to glance over your shoulder, as if the ghosts of the past are pressing close to the windows, silently observing the train's passage through their ancient lands. The last vestiges of light finally fade. The window now reflects only the interior of the dining car, punctuated by occasional, fleeting glimpses of the dark landscape outside. A solitary stone wall, the silhouette of sheep, or a flash of a stream illuminated by moonlight. Upon returning to your compartment, you find the seats have been converted into comfortable sleeping berths, dressed with fresh linens. Duncan remarks that in the old days, night travel was considered somewhat magical. He explains that travelers at night witness things no day traveler would, such as the momentary reflection of fox eyes in the lantern light, or barn owls ghosting alongside the train in silent flight. The train's lamps cast a warm, contained glow that barely penetrates the darkness beyond the glass. The compartment feels smaller now, more intimate in the darkness, a comforting cocoon against the vast, unknown expanse of the Highland night. In the distance, the lights of a remote farmhouse flicker, a silent witness to the train's relentless journey, a solitary beacon in the pervasive darkness. Duncan mentions that you are now approaching Rannoch Moor, a vast expanse of 0 acres of bog and moorland, widely regarded as one of Europe's last true wildernesses. He explains the immense challenge faced by the railway builders, who were compelled to float the track on brushwood foundations, as the ground was simply too saturated for conventional construction. He notes that if one knows precisely where to look, it is possible to perceive the track subtly moving, rising and falling, like it's breathing beneath the weight of the train. This visualization of the track breathing beneath you deepens your awareness of the train's varied rhythms, inviting a further sense of relaxation. Duncan shares that early travelers harbored a deep fear of crossing the moor, recounting unsettling tales of lights that would appear and attempt to lead people off safe paths into the treacherous bogs. While these phenomena are now understood to be marsh gas, the old stories maintain a chilling plausibility on a misty night. As the train passes over the moor, the rhythmic bouncing becomes slightly erratic, an unsettling motion that momentarily disrupts the serene atmosphere. You find yourself straining your eyes into the darkness, convinced you see faint, bobbing lights in the distance, a fleeting, ambiguous confirmation of Duncan's unsettling tale. Outside the window, you see only profound darkness, broken intermittently by an occasional flash of moonlight. Duncan points toward a small cluster of distant lights, identifying it as Glencoe Village, beyond which lies the notorious Glencoe Mountain Pass. He describes Glencoe as a place of terrible beauty, where the mountains bore silent witness to a darker chapter of history. The Glencoe Massacre of 1692, when soldiers, under the guise of hospitality, violated the sanctity of Highland trust. Duncan remarks that some say ghosts still wander these glens, and while he himself doesn't subscribe to such beliefs, he acknowledges a distinct, heavy feeling in that place. A sudden, sharp cry seems to pierce the quiet night, carried on the windless sound of profound sorrow echoing from the depths of the massacre site. The train appears to hesitate for a fleeting moment, its steady rhythm momentarily faltering, as if acknowledging the immutable weight of the tragedy embedded in the landscape. The train begins to decelerate, approaching a small station where a few passengers prepare to disembark. The platform below appears as a small, isolated island of yellow light in the darkness. The station building itself is constructed from sturdy, enduring stone. After a brief stop, the train pulls away, smoothly regaining its steady pace. Duncan notes that they will soon be following the coastline. He points out that on a clear night, one can see all the way to the distant islands. He shares that the Highland Celts believed these islands were places where the veil between the worlds grew thin, where the spiritual and physical realms intertwined. Moonlight now floods the compartment, allowing you to catch the first glimpses of the sea. The train follows the coastline so closely that it seems to be skimming the water's edge. Duncan stifles a quiet yawn, mentioning that they will soon be crossing the Moray Firth, a wide estuary where dolphins occasionally follow the shoreline. He shares that railway workers would often time their breaks to watch for them, with some believing these dolphins were the reincarnated souls of sailors lost at sea. Your eyelids begin to grow heavy. You catch fleeting glimpses of the moonlit coastline's silvery beaches, dark, jagged cliffs, and the steadfast, distant light of a lighthouse. Duncan's voice becomes softer, quieter, as he speaks of ancient standing stones aligned with the stars and mountain passes, where historic battles occurred. He recounts his grandmother saying that night travelers were blessed because they see the world when it's dreaming. The gentle rocking of the train now acts as a profound lullaby. Your awareness begins to drift effortlessly between Duncan's soft words and the immersive sounds of night travel. The landscape outside the window is now a dreamlike blur, a fleeting canvas of shadows and silver light. The continuous rhythm of the train and the distant waves are the only reality, a gentle presence guiding you deeper into unconsciousness. Duncan observes your heavy eyelids and advises you to rest now, assuring you that the train, having followed these same tracks for over 100 years, knows the way implicitly. He dims the compartment lamp, leaving just enough light to perceive the gentle outlines of the world passing by. He promises to wake you well before your stop. As you drift deeper into sleep, the boundaries between wakefulness and dreaming begin to blur. The train's continuous motion rocks you, and the rhythm of the wheels upon the rails becomes the steady heartbeat of your journey. Duncan's story tales of a land shaped by the weather and the passage of time follow you into your dreams. The Highland train carries you forward, promising new landscapes and fresh stories in the morning. The last sensations you are aware of are the distant sound of waves, Duncan's soft breathing, and the train's whisper as it glides through the Highland night, carrying its sleeping passengers safely toward the dawn. The train's whisper seems to merge with Duncan's voice, creating an indelible, haunting echo that resonates deep within your slumber. This journey transcends mere physical movement. It is a profound descent into the ancient heart of Scotland, a landscape alive with whispers and dreams